If you're in the know, you might be aware that there were a few non-linear platformers before Metroid. These proto-Metroidvanias have always been really fascinating to me, but there's always something about them that makes them not really feel like Metroid. And I don't just mean going down a strict list of genre traits and seeing which ones they check off. I mean, like, take a look at Below the Root from 1984. I hear a lot of people say, this is the first Metroidvania. And yeah, it came out 2 years before Metroid. It's very cool. It has your platforming and non-linear map ability gating stuff. But I think the way it goes about fulfilling these traits is really quite different from any game we would traditionally call a Metroidvania. This game is really more of a crossover between a platformer and a point-and-click adventure, which just so happens in hindsight to give you new abilities that gate progression like a Metroidvania. There's also The Castle, which is a home computer game from 1985. It has this whole non-linear world map to explore and collect keys and unlock doors and whatnot. But this game is really more of a Metroidvania since it focuses more on solving block pushing puzzles than gaining new abilities, and the world map is a fairly rigid 10 by 10 grid, so navigation is not that complicated. There's a lot of games like this, games that happen to be a bit like Metroidvanias in hindsight, but since obviously they didn't have the Metroid formula to go off of, they end up being totally different beasts in their own right. But a game I found recently is one I don't think I've hardly heard anyone even mentioning, and yet to me it feels more like a proper Metroid -1 than any of these. And that game, of course, is Journey to the Center of the Earth for Commodore 64. This is from 1985, and I don't know, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Just look at this world map. I feel like any die-hard fan of the genre will get their neurons activated just by seeing this thing. It's your big, labyrinthian, underground complex of all these crisscrossing tunnels, barriers that require the right ability, plenty of goodies to collect. Funny enough, this game even has Dark Souls corpse runs, where when you die, all your stuff gets dropped on the ground and you have to go and pick it back up. So there's a lot of very unique and ahead of its time mechanics in this game, and I want to give you a brief overview on how this game works before diving into 2 speedruns I did for it. One glitchless, one glitchful, because I think the routing challenge that this game is able to create is unlike any other game I've ever played. So the goal of this game is to collect 11 treasures dotted around the map and carry them back up with you to the surface. And once you've dropped the 11th treasure on the surface, the game ends and you win. Supposedly. I mean, there's a little quirk which makes that weird, but I'll get to that. The challenge is that you only have 7 inventory slots, so you'll have to go down into the planet, drag things back up, and make another trip back down multiple times. And the issue with that is that although you have these 7 inventory slots, you can only jump if you're holding 5 items or less. Carry any more and you become weighed down, so with a full inventory you can pretty much only just keep climbing down, and eventually you'll find a pit you have to jump over, and then you have to drop some items anyway. You have to also be very careful going down one-way paths. You see, you can climb up and down any wall in the game, but you can't jump off of walls. So if you want to get from this right wall over to the ledge on the left, you can't. You might climb back down to see if you can climb up the other side, but then you would realize that the wall is slanted here, which means you can't actually jump high enough to reach it. And this situation happens many times throughout the map, and it's the game's way of creating one-way paths that you have to plan your route around. On top of that, the game gates your progression through fall damage, or just fall death. If you fall from 3 blocks or higher, you're dead. And normally I don't like this kind of thing in these ancient platformers because in a more action-y game, it just feels bad, but here it really works because it's one more piece of the puzzle to consider when you're poring over the map. Like, you need this key down here, but you can't just drop down because you'll break your legs. You need to come back with the water jug to grow this vine so you can climb down safely. Or just clip past it, but that's for the glitched any percent speedrun. So, despite all these restrictions, this game has a couple useful types of fast travel. The most useful of which being these 3 eggs at the surface, which are a one-time use consumable item, which does take up an inventory slot, but lets you teleport back to where you picked it up with all of the items you're carrying. So this is the main way of bringing items back up to the surface, but you need to plan around only having 3 for the whole game, at least up here at the top. So when you put all this together, you get kind of a mix between the underground labyrinth item collecting of Metroid mixed with like the cabbage, goat, and wolf riddle where you have to figure out how to ferry items from one place to another. There are so many moments in this game where a key item may be right next to a place where you use it, but on closer look, taking the easy way there would waste so much time compared to multitasking, working on other goals, dropping that item off in no man's land, only to pick it up way later in the game. And especially in a speedrun, when you're trying to optimize your route, you have to think about minimizing your trips back up to the surface, efficient locations to drop off a ton of items and pick them up later. You have to plan ahead for falls that are too high, or going down one-way paths, and even stuff like this extra dynamite, which suddenly means you're able to blow a hole in the map anywhere you want, potentially skipping a whole trek, as long as you're willing to sacrifice crucial inventory space to bring the dynamite and the detonator with you. This game ends up being a Metroidvania where 90% of it is played studying the map. You can't just go down into the planet and get lost and find your way around haphazardly. You have to route. You have to plan your trips in advance. And for many people, that would be tedious. But for me, I find it incredibly engaging. So let's look at how all of this works in action. I'm going to show you my 2 speedruns, sped up to double speed so I don't waste your time, and explain both the glitchless route and the glitchful any percent route. Hopefully you enjoy. So let's start with the glitchless route. I have this map over here to follow along with. We just went down the yellow path and we're going to get our first treasure and our first key item. The yellow path is going to be the first route down, orange is the second route down, and green is the third route down. There are 3 eggs, which is these 3 purple stars here. I just picked up one here. You can see it in my inventory. And those will be our teleporters to come back up to the surface. So doing 3 routes is very intended, and I think basically the best that you can do for this game without glitches. So we're going to come down here and use a block that we just picked up at the surface right here. The block goes into the little hole to open this gate, and we're going to grab the empty water jug. This is an item which is used in many different areas in the game. It's definitely the most reused item, so I wanted to pick it up first. You can see I actually just fell in the water there, and the empty jug turned into the water jug. That's how you fill it. You actually have to find areas and jump in either the water or oil to get the right liquid in it. We just went through this little river here, which we had to jump out of into little air pockets to get enough air. And we picked up the detonator, which is going to give us, the ability to detonate the dynamite once we pick that up. I'm going to go back a little bit and just show you what I'm doing here. There are random bats that spawn, which are just a treat. And basically, you're meant to have a gun which can shoot the bats, but you really can just walk off screen and despawn them. So that's what I'm going to do. Now we're going to use this water jug here. It doesn't use the jug up, but it does use the water inside it, and creates just this tiniest little sprout so that you can come right here where my cursor is to get the third treasure, grab the block, which will open up another door, and head all the way back up to the surface. This is us teleporting, and we're going right up here, back to where the egg is. You'll notice we have 6 items, and so we're going to have to do a little bit of ferrying. We can't actually jump up just quite yet to reach that, so we drop an item there, drop one down there, pick it up. Now we have 5, but we can jump again, and the rest of this just requires climbing. Just despawn this bat real quick. So there's a lot of that in this game. And part of it is just trying to route around it. I dropped 3 treasures and the water jug because we don't need the water jug for this orange path, which we're on now. But I am going to take the detonator, egg, and a box, and I just picked up dynamite. And this is our spare dynamite, which we can use anywhere we want, and we're about to use it down here at the bottom of this path. First, though, we're going to put this block in here. Despawn these bats, and come down and drop down into the water to get this treasure right here. This is a pretty precise area. You can see, I'm pretty sure you were actually supposed to bring an item to get through this. We got called an oxygen pill. I kind of flub a little bit getting the precise positioning there. You see, I have to jump into the corner of these air pockets because if you try to go all the way to where there's a little more room, you just run out of breath and die. And I did die here a few times recording this run. I'm going to pick the block back up, which leaves us with 6 items. And at this point, I'm like, I don't need the gun. The gun is actually not used on either of these speedruns. I brought it just for protection, didn't end up actually using it. That could definitely be routed out. It's not used for anything other than shooting bats, but we'll use that same box to open the gate here and use the dynamite. And this dynamite is going to let us skip, I'm going to go to our map here, it's going to let us skip this door. So by getting the detonator on the first path, and then also grabbing the dynamite here, we can bring it and come right here to skip this door. This door is not opened up with another box like what we've been picking up. This is basically the oil door. I guess it's like malfunctioning or squeaky or something. So here is normally where you'd pick up the oil. You would normally grab the water jug, come all the way down here, and pick up the oil. And the problem with this, and why it wastes so much time actually coming here, is because if you come down this way, you might think, oh, I'll just wrap around this way and come to this door. That is not possible. You can see right here we have an angled slant that denotes this as a one-way. Can't climb up here. One way, can't climb up any way whatsoever. It's all one-ways. If you were to grab the oil and then try to come up through the top, you could if you actually opened up this door previously, which we did, but that takes routing into that. And mainly the other reason that we didn't bring the oil is we don't even have the water jug on us. By skipping the oil, it allows us to free up 1 inventory space, which is very useful for the rest of this orange path here. And we've left the water jug here, so that basically just frees us up a spot and saves some time in the process. So I think it's pretty good. Maybe there's a better spot somewhere if you get real cheeky with it, but I haven't found anything. So we're just going to grab the Hope Diamond, and after that we're going to come down, fall into the water, and grab this dynamite. At least one of these dynamites is required, and we're going to use that at the lower area down here. You'll also see we skipped an egg. We never need to teleport back to this egg. I don't think it ever saves time, so it's unnecessary. And now this part here is very tricky and definitely a run killer. It's this little baby dragon. You'll see I also have to despawn some bats, which is kind of annoying. But this guy, I'm just setting up a very precise little position here so that I know the timing to jump over him, because I don't know. You could just wing it technically. I can't. So I need a little bit of a setup to get over him. With that, we have the Shroud of Turin, which I think is our 7th treasure, and at that point we can egg back up to the surface. Oh, good time to show just how jank this game is. Watch the glitchy graphics. That's not me. It's not an emulator problem. This game is just built with duct tape and straw. So, I don't know. It's an old game. It's kind of funny in that way. But I'm going to drop down all our treasures here. We're going to bring the detonator and the 2nd dynamite and pick up our water jug. It's going to finally be useful pretty soon. I just passed that gun on the ground, realizing it's not worth it. I mean, yes, it saves time if you have to despawn bats, but the actual inventory management element of it is a pain in the ass. Grab our 3rd egg here and drop down into the water. Dropping down into the water fills up our water jug, and it's on the way, so that's perfect. I think, well, I'll explain where I think the intended place to get water is in a second, but I'll show you what we're using it for, which is right here. We're going to grow a little plant and climb down it. This is actually the area that I used earlier as an example for fall damage. That's why we're growing the plant here. You have to climb the vine down or else you'll break your legs. So I think that actually the intended path, or at least the more obvious path to get the water to this location, is a little bit of a headache, and it's kind of why we routed the water bucket in this particular way. You can see that the water bucket is picked up here. You might think, oh, you know, just come down with the bucket and come down and grow the plant. But you need to fill it up. If you come down, this is a one-way. You can't climb back up this way. So coming down here is a total fool's errand, and the only really close water that you can get is this one. So you'd have to either enter this door and climb all the way around here just to get the water, just to come climb all the way back and pour the water here. Or if you're super clever like me, you can just have the water bucket to begin with from the first route, and then by the time you're actually coming back down this way, fill it up on the way rather than grabbing it and making a whole second trip for the water. So that's a little bit of the kind of thing you have to think about with this game. We're going to pick up the elevator key. Right now on the map, we are right here, and we're going to just climb up this path and grab this treasure. With this treasure, the Mosalina, you can see that we're at 6 items, which means we can't jump. This is actually totally fine because we're just going down a little bit of climbing and don't need to actually jump at this point, so that was routed in very intentionally. Going down the elevator. Now we don't need the elevator key anymore, so we're going to drop it there. Pick up our treasure on the map here at my cursor. That's where we are. Pick up the treasure, pick up the umbrella, and you can see that we are maxed out. So since we can't jump, we're going to need to drop a few things here to pick a couple other things up. I'm going to drop off 2 treasures, an egg, any key item. So we're going to climb up and grab the oxygen pill here. There are 2 of these in the game. I think one of them is really meant to be used here, where we were going through that river with some precise jumps, but you don't really need it, so this is the only one that we pick up. We actually were right next to the second one when we used the dynamite, and even though it was right there, you'll notice that we're very thin on inventory space, so not picking it up was very ideal. Now we're going to leave all of that stuff here, and I'm going to actually show you on the map. This is kind of a crucial area. We have a lot of items here. All my scribbled little down arrows here are items that we're going to leave here. It's our 2 treasures, our egg, and a key item that we're just leaving here, and these 3 are going to be here for the rest of the game until we come back up all the way at the very end to pick them up. So this whole section here that we're going to do is a lot of little ferrying. Due to the nature of the one-ways in this area, due to needing to jump over that gap that we just jumped over, and just generally having a lot more gaps to jump over, we're going to have to basically just drop down and pick up a bunch of items over and over again. So we drop down 2 here. This is kind of that goat, cabbage, wolf thing I'm talking about. Drop down another 2 here. Avoid the very annoying spawning bats. And come back over with the others. If this looks a little cumbersome and like it might waste time, the reason that we are doing this and that we're bringing all of these items down is because the lower area of this world is basically a big gauntlet of key item use, which is why we need all of that. I'm going to back up. This is where we used the oxygen pill. That was too long to get through no matter what. And this elevator is the elevator that you can only get through with 6 items. You're weighing it down. It's also why running away from this bat here, I had to drop an item from on the ground and then pick it back up. The reason I picked that back up is because if I walked back onto the elevator, it would have just sent me back up. It would have said, okay, you're light enough, just going to send you back up, and that wastes a lot of time. So another thing you have to think about while playing. This is the spiral of monotony is what I call it. The game just makes you just climb around in a big loop. This was a GDQ kind of thing. This is where you'd be doing a donation for sure. But we're just speeding through this. So here's the required use of the dynamite right here. Boom. Yes, you do die if you touch it. You're going to get the gold from Fort Knox specifically, and also the America's Cup. And go ahead and drop the detonator there because we don't need it anymore, and just climb on back down. Grab our item, and then immediately drop it back down because we need to be able to jump. That puts us at 5. Drop just anything there, climb back down, pick it up. You know the drill by now. We're going to use the umbrella here. The umbrella is for that rock, the end. And then we're going to also come down here with the water bucket and splash some water on this fire. I promise it's there. I'll actually show you this right here. Fire's never actually on screen, and I didn't want to leave you hanging, so here it is. You can just touch it and sink down into the earth and melt and die. You could also 360 midair no-scope it with the water. Just kidding. It doesn't work, which is sad. I don't know why, but doing this just crashes the game very consistently. Yes, specifically the jump off the ledge 360 no scope water bucket shenanigans leads to all sorts of crazy crashes. I don't know why. So after all that, we're going to climb down here. There's a couple guns in this area. They're not actually useful because bats don't spawn down here. But we're going to use the clockwork key to spin this little mechanism so that this platform can be climbed on, and drop it because it's not needed anymore. We've also dropped the water bucket. That's the last use of that. And there's this little section here where you jump over some mines. They are instant kill. Everything in this game is instant kill, which brings you back up to the top. And I'm taking my time here because, I don't know, no reason to. And here's the troll. He just blinks in and out of existence. And we got the troll's secret hoard. So with that, that's our final treasure. We're going to beam back with our fourth egg, which takes us back up here. Enjoy the glitchy sights as we come back here, despawn some more bats, and climb back up to the teleporter. We're basically at the end of the game now. We're just picking up all of the stuff that we dropped off. But what the heck was I doing there? Was I being an idiot? No, the teleporter just works that way. So basically, right here, boom, boom. Those are two teleporters. And then right up here, we have a set of 4. 1 here, 2 here, 3 and 4. And the way they coded this is hilarious. If you walk into one of these teleporters, it selects a random location for you to go to from the set, including itself. So you can literally walk in and out over and over and over again, flipping the same tails on your coin flip over and over again and waste a ton of time. I think it's funny. I don't know, but I'm sure if this were a serious speed game, people would get pissed at that. So yeah, we got our 5 treasures. Ending with 5 is very useful. You don't have to do any little bit of ferrying. You can just jump on up. And this is essentially the end of the run. We come back up here, climb up, and we are going to put down our final treasures. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what happened there? So if you see, I do put down 4 treasures. This one here that's still in my inventory is just because I'm standing over an item. And so it's trying to get put into the inventory, but this is actually an empty slot. This one here is only showing up because I just put it down and then the game pauses. But this is down, all the rest are down. But this one is still in my inventory, so I didn't actually drop all 11 treasures. So what happened? Basically, the programmer made a mistake and I kind of made a mistake, sort of. The game is actually incompletable. You cannot actually beat this game. The way that I got this little message here, congratulations, you've achieved the impossible, is by doing a little bit of hex editing in the emulator settings. Essentially, the treasure at the very bottom of the planet, the Troll's Hoard, the treasure here at the very end, doesn't count. The programmer just programmed it wrong, unfortunately. I guess it doesn't, it's probably not in the right object file, and so you can only ever actually place down a maximum of 10 treasures up at the surface. If you place that 11th treasure down, the game doesn't register it and nothing happens. So essentially, before the speedrun start, I just set my counter to 1 treasure instead of 0. That way when you place the 10th, any 10th, it'll be over. I just decided to cut the timer a little later than normal because, you know, I guess I accidentally saved time. I'm a cheater. I saved 1/3 of a second in the first speedrun ever, sorry. You know what time it is? It's bonus time. I thought I'd give you guys a little bonus section of silly or jank things that didn't make it into either of the runs. Starting small, I never actually use a gun, so here you go. Didn't want to leave you hanging on that. They shoot 6 shots, and then they're out. They can't kill the baby dragon, but the TNT can. So if one of your metrics for a proper Metroidvania is that items have to do something other than just be keys, here you go. If you were programming the game, how would you prevent the player from moving left and right at the same time? Maybe, if they hold both left and right, just stop the character from moving. Well, that's exactly what the programmer did. You can use this to jump over bats easily without reloading the screen. However, I'm pretty sure this game is technically only playable on a joystick, which can't do that. A Commodore 64 is a computer, but I can't figure out if you can actually control the game with a keyboard on real hardware. If you can, this trick could make it into a run. Remember the elevator? Do you like building up speed for 40 hours? Because this is an easy but time-consuming way to just clip right past it. Just kidding. You can do this long jump spam on any wall. Just hold the spacebar. It does nothing besides looking funny. In fact, you can't even use dynamite to get past the elevator door. I tried clipping past this thing for a while, but couldn't find anything. Let me know if you can. Speaking of dynamite, you might assume the troll is immune to it. And you'd be right. So don't get any wise ideas. You might get trolled to death. But what about guns? Believe it or not, I'm unloading 2 full clips into him right here. The bullets just don't spawn on the bottom floor, or the surface. I think it might have something to do with the fact that bats don't spawn at the very top or bottom either. That doesn't mean we can't make this encounter a total joke by other means. Who's getting trolled to death now? But maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's stop fooling around and put this glitch towards something useful. Okay, so the moment has finally come to look at the any percent route and see how glitches can affect all of this routing. I did a little bit of extra editing with the map here. I guess I was just lazy on the glitchless version. But essentially, we're going to see immediately the kind of glitch that allows us to do 2 grips down through the surface instead of just 1. Check this out. Boom. That's it. Boing, boing. So what is going on here? Essentially, I was messing around with the game and I was trying to figure out what kind of animations I can interrupt with weird item usage. And right now I'm just setting down an item during my ledge get up animation. And by doing that, I clip into the ground and I'm able to jump through the ground and completely bypass that gate. That's not the only use for the clip. We'll show a little bit more off later, but for now let's just continue down. I have grabbed my first treasure here, the Hope Diamond. So we're going to drop down here, not grab the dynamite, but we do grab that egg that we passed last time. The dynamite is not useful on this route because we kind of have our own dynamite more or less anywhere we want with limitations, which I'll get into. And the reason that we are able to pick up that egg this time is because the way that the route has kind of shaken out, we actually get this bottom treasure here much earlier, as you can see. Then we beam back up here and do these treasures next. The reason that we can do these treasures next is because remember using the water to grow plants? Well, that's unnecessary. We're just going to do a clip through here, bounce, 3 long jumps forward, and then drop an item there. And when you drop an item there, it almost acts like a little bit of a landmine, and it carves space into the terrain. So yes, this game has terrain editing, like terraforming, which I think is very cool. Just to show this off a little, I wanted to show just how crazy this terraforming can get. You really can just place items down like mines all over the place, and as soon as you reload the area, all of those blocks are gone. Now, you would probably think that this just means the game is blown wide open, like you can just dig anywhere, so you can just go grab anything you want, right? There's some limitations to this. First is, if you look at me climbing here, I'm kind of in this purple part of the texture. The walls in this game have an isometric perspective, which shakes out in a way that you can only do this clip if you're facing left. Also, since you have to reload the screen every time you want the blocks to be destroyed, it takes a lot longer to dig deep vertically down, And in many cases, it's impossible because you hit a floor with no nearby ledges to initiate the clip. So I found it most useful for clearing away one block at a time, or getting just low enough in the floor to skip past gates. I have grabbed the block down here, and you can see we have 3 treasures already. We're just going to climb down here, do that little bit of precision river jumping that I was talking about earlier, and grab this 4th treasure, and then egg back up to the surface. That was our 1 of 2 trips. I guess you could probably call it 2.1 trips. There is a little bit of ferrying that you're going to see we're doing at the very, very end. But either way, we're back at the surface, and we're going to climb down the middle path. I completely bypass getting the treasure up here. That was our first treasure initially, because just the way that the item management shakes out, by the time that we actually warp back up to the egg, it's just better off to get it at the very end rather than drag it all the way down with us. I mean, we have to do the rest of the game, and we don't want to have to carry that treasure with us the whole rest of the game. There is no way to clip past this door, and I can explain that right here. Any of these slanted corners here, you can't do the clip on these either, because once you actually drop an item, you just fall down and there's no ground beneath you to catch you. Moving on, we can clip through here. We're not actually clipping through any sort of barrier, we're actually using a little bit of terraforming. This is the location where we would normally create a vine here with the water jug. We don't need to do that either. By creating this terraforming, this one-way slant here becomes climbable, and we're able to just climb down it. That allows us to, instead of making a 3-block fall, we now make a 2-block fall. So we can just go down. We got the elevator key now. This is our position on the map. Got the Mosalina. And then we're going to climb down once again and use the elevator key. Some of the route down here is a good bit similar until we get to the bottom. Same sort of deal, using the elevator key, coming all the way down to this location. Something I can talk about this time, though, is that the elevator is completely required. Looking at the map, you might think that this is just fast travel or a very quick route down and up through these 2 floors of the planet. It is that, but really it's actually just hard required. The reason being that these 2 items here are just covered in one-ways. You can't climb up this way, that's a one-way. Can't climb up and drop down this way, that's a one-way. And even if you were able to get here, which you can through a whole other annoying path, but it doesn't matter because one-way. I just want to point out a little anomaly in the map that I noticed, which I think is very funny. I call this Gun Island, because if you look at it, it's completely separated from anything else. And if you look at the pathing, one way, up here are one-ways, that's a one-way. I think the only way that you can get this gun is by spending your 1 spare dynamite right here in this 1 thick block to come down here for what? A gun? And then you might think, oh, well, that's a way to bypass the elevator, but it's not, because you can't climb up this way and drop down. So just a really weird anomaly in this game. I think it's kind of funny these old games just have stuff like that, which is like, what were they thinking? This part of the game, just like in the other route, is a good bit of item ferrying. We can see we have 6 items there, which means we have to drop a few. Gonna come pick up the egg before the oxygen pill first. That's just the way it shook out with the teleporter RNG. It sent me here first. Doesn't really matter. The only thing that really wastes time with the teleporters, at least these 2, are if you beam back and forth. And watch this. Flip, 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 flip. Nope, nope, nope. Tails, tails, flipping tails. There we go. I flipped heads. Ow. I don't know if it's a true 50%. I mean, I haven't like dove into the code or anything, but to me, it feels like a coin flip. In most routes, it usually feels like 50%. So I think that was just disastrous luck. But, you know, whatever. I mean, first speed run, so who cares? You just finish the game. We're going to climb here, and since we only have 5 items, we don't have to do that whole goat, cabbage, wolf, back and forth shenanigans. We can just jump over those, use the oxygen pill, and float on down. This fills up our water, which is convenient. And wait a minute. Uh-oh, we don't have enough items. We're not going to be able to bust through this floor. What setup do you think we're going to need to do here? How about just jump, but do it right? Yeah, yeah, I don't know. The name is jank. There's like no specific setup or anything like that. You just can jump through the floor that usually requires 6 items. So, uh, yeah. Right here, we're in the spiral of monotony, but thankfully it's a lot less monotonous in the glitched route because you can just do a little bit of our corner humping shenanigans. Little terraforming here. I'm placing those items down and picking them back up to create a hole here. And then the same thing right here. It's a little tricky. You can see me kind of flubbing a bit. Um, and that lets us in. You can see when I'm doing this floor clipping, I'm doing long jumps. If you just walk forward while you're a little bit buried into the floor, you'll just walk up onto the normal floor level. So you have to long jump through, which is fine. But it also means that your spacing has to be precise in certain clips. So here's what I mean by that. This is the gate that we clipped through at the start. Initially, I was planning on doing some terraforming to leave a path underneath the gate so I can come back the way I came after collecting the treasure down this way. And to do that, you would have to put 2 little item mines right next to each other so that when you start long jumping, you're now 1 more tile over to the left. If you don't do this, the mines you place after each long jump will be out of position to actually destroy the block under the gate itself, since it has to be on a specific tile. Okay, back here, same situation as last time. We have 6 items where we actually need 5. So we jump up, come back down, yada yada yada. And then use the umbrella once, drop it, and the rest of this route is pretty much the same. Water, drop, come down here, I'll save your time. Clockwork key, use it. Yep, drop it, come down here, use the, jump over these mines, and then go through the troll here to get the very functional and very important troll secret hoard, which will definitely help us beat the game. So we're just going to beam back up here. Like last time, we'll hope that our teleporter luck is a little better. And, is it? Not really. But let's just get all these treasures. Look at all of that. The booty. So we have 6 with our goated routing. And this time we're going to climb up here with 6. We actually don't have all the treasures yet. So we're dropping 1 here so I can jump up here. Drop 5 down here. And if you recall, we finally have our last treasure here, the World Cup. The World Cup is actually going on right now as I'm recording this, so it's fitting. There we go. We grab our last treasure. And with these 2, boom, boom, we beat the game. There's a little bit more of an end screen here, which I'll show off. Our intrepid band showed the exploratory skills of the man who made this game. Well, what did you think? Do you like routing? What about eggs? Who do you think would win? The cabbage, the goat, or the wolf? Let me know. And if you can find any improvements that would make these runs faster, go for it yourself. This is a fully unoptimized game, so there's loads of time to be saved. Have a good one.